Hi everyone. So today I'm going to show you how to use LinkedIn. So you probably have all heard of LinkedIn. Some of you may have a LinkedIn account. I know we probably have a wide variety of LinkedIn knowledge in this class right now. But I'm going to show you a couple of great reasons why you want to use LinkedIn and just talk to you about how to create a profile and all of that. So LinkedIn is a professional social networking site. It actually has over 360 million users in over 200 countries, 26 different languages, and somewhere between 80 and 85% of companies are using LinkedIn actively to recruit new employees. So it's really an important thing to be on. And sometimes I hear students say, I'm already on Twitter, I'm already on Instagram, I'm already on Facebook, I don't have time for another social media platform. Well, LinkedIn, if you're on any of them, LinkedIn is the one that you should definitely be on because it's super, super useful. So let's just do a quick overview and intro of LinkedIn. So when you log into LinkedIn, this page I'm showing you right now is actually my home page. And this is very similar to those of you who have Facebook, your newsfeed page. But what you're going to see on this page is professional information. So you're not going to see all of the selfies or this is what I had for lunch today. It's going to be articles and things that are probably related to the field that you're interested in. Obviously, what you're going to see on mine are going to be things related to higher education, to career counseling, but for you, it would be whatever kind of companies you're following and the kinds of people, the kinds of people that you're following as well. So that's a great way just to kind of keep up to date on kind of the things that are going on in your general field. When you go to your own profile page, and we'll click over, actually I'll go over this way, to my own profile page. So this is what a profile looks like, and how I describe it to students is it really is sort of an amped up version of your resume. So what you want to do when you start out creating your LinkedIn profile for the first time is put a picture on there. Now choose a picture that's just a picture of just you. You don't want a group photo or anything like that. You don't have to be in a suit with a backdrop professionally taken, but I would suggest, simple background or outside or something like that. So it's a good picture of you that you wouldn't mind if companies saw it. Now under here for your actual title, you don't want to put just student at the University of New Hampshire. There's 15,000 of you, so you want to stick out a bit more than that. If any of you have an internship right now, you can have on there a Lindt Chocolate marketing intern or whatever it might be. You could also have a political science student at the University of New Hampshire, aspiring museum educator at the University of New Hampshire, whatever it might be. Now underneath here, this is really important part to have on here is your experience. So experience for those of you, or for all of you right now, may include those part-time jobs, the summer jobs, even if you feel like it's not necessarily related to the field that you're interested in. It's still important to have experience on there so that employers can see that you have had work experience. It could be experience in groups or on campus clubs or organizations. And when you start LinkedIn for the first time, it's pretty easy to go through it. It'll say, what kinds of positions have you had in the past? Where was it at? What was a timeline? When were you there? And then it'll even bring up a logo if that company is on LinkedIn. Now what I did is I just took my resume and that I already had and I added these bullet points right from my resume on there. You don't have to do that right away, but it's something you should definitely add on there so that companies can see what have you done or what did you do in those past positions. Now when you go to this view more button right up here above experience, it's going to pull down all the other categories that you can add onto your profile. So you could put volunteer experience or opportunities, any honors you've received, specific courses you've taken. I wouldn't put test scores on there. I don't see that too often anymore, but lots of different kinds of things that you can put on there. In addition to your experience, you can also, there's an opportunity for you to include a photo. So if you have a picture of some kind of event that you helped put together or something that you've done for your job, you can put that on there. If you have a presentation that you've created for it or anything like that, you can always include those things on here too. Now, I'll get asked by students sometimes if it's okay if the student uploads a resume right to this. I tell students don't do that. And the reason that I recommend not putting a resume right onto your LinkedIn account is that your resume is going to have your phone number and your home address on there, and you just don't want that going out to everyone. So in addition to experience and some of those other areas I talked about that you can put on here, there's also this part that's called skills and endorsements. Now, people either love this part or are not big fans of it. I think it's a pretty cool thing. Basically what it does is it legitimizes the things that you're putting on your resume and the skills that you're saying that you have. So for example, I could tell people in my resume that I have experience with public speaking or that I have experience planning events. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm good at those things, but I've done them and I put them on my resume. But if an employer were to go to my LinkedIn account, they can see on here, 25 people have endorsed Beth for public speaking, meaning 25 people have heard her public speak and can say, yes, she does know what she's talking about when she does public speaking. Or 10 people can say, or 10 people have said, I've worked with Beth on event planning. She knows what she's doing with that. So it's a great way to, like I said, legitimize the things that you're saying on your resume so people can say, oh, you actually do have experience in that way, and all these people have endorsed you for those skills. I also have a lot more skills and endorsements on this page than I necessarily would have probably on a resume. Now, the quickest way to gain skills and endorsements is to go ahead and endorse other people. Anytime that you type in someone's name, I'm just going to type in one of my coworkers' names on here. So anytime that you type in somebody's name that's a connection of yours, as soon as you type up their name, it's going to pop up with these skills right here. Now what I can do, I've already endorsed Rhiannon for a lot, so not a lot of different skills are coming up for her, but I haven't endorsed her for these two yet. Now I can say on here, okay, I don't know, I haven't seen Rhiannon teach, for example, but I know she's got great time management, and I also know that she has really good skills when it comes to interviews. I know that she's got good experience with that. So I'm going to go ahead and endorse Rhiannon for those things. Now the next time Rhiannon logs on, up at this little flag area up here, she's going to get a notification that says, Rhiannon, Beth just endorsed you for these two areas. And oftentimes what will happen is when people see that you've or someone, a friend or a connection endorsed them, they'll oftentimes say, oh, you know what, I should probably go and endorse that person back. So the quickest way to gain endorsements is to go ahead and endorse other people first, and you'll see those endorsements start to coming in. Now it does take time to gain those endorsements, and again, not something that's necessary that you have to do, but I think it's a great thing for employers to see. There's also areas underneath here where employers can actually upload a letter of recommendation on there, or even just a really brief recommendation. You can also put your education on there, which I encourage all of you to do, putting especially UNH on there too. You can follow different kinds of groups and organizations. You can follow over 50 groups. And groups are a great way to get involved in the kinds of areas that you're thinking in your field. So obviously you're going to see the groups that I'm following are going to be higher ed or career related. But it's great because I can click on any of these and I can see the types of discussions that people are having within that group that I'm joining. And I can join in on the discussions, but I can also just see what's kind of going on in my field and what are people talking about. So here you can see that somebody posted an article and then there's some responses to that too. And so it's a great way, like I said, to kind of keep up to date on what's going on in your area. So those are different kinds of groups. That was a really brief overview of the profile, but one other thing that I want to show you on here is this area just underneath your name is where your URL will be listed. Now when you create your profile for the first time, your URL is going to be a bunch of numbers and letters after it, pretty long URL. If you hover over your URL to this little wheel right here, it's going to take you to your public profile page. But on the right hand side, this is where you can actually edit your URL. So if you hit the pencil, you can edit your own URL and make it a shortened version. So use your name. For me, there were a lot of Beth Williams on LinkedIn, so I put my middle initial in there. You may need to do last name, first name, that sort of thing. But then you can have your own personal URL. Now, why would you need a short URL? you may need it because you're going to want to put it on your resume. And so underneath the area where you have your contact information, you can actually put your LinkedIn profile on there. The other thing is that you can put it on your, if you have other social media like Facebook, for example, you can copy and paste this URL, put that on your Facebook profile, even put a message saying to all of your friends, I just joined LinkedIn, I'd love to add you all to my network, here's my LinkedIn URL. And so people can easily add you that way too. So again, that's a really brief overview of what a public profile looks like. Now I've linked other a couple of videos for you to watch and also some articles about LinkedIn that I think is going to be really helpful. But if you have questions as you're creating your profile, don't hesitate to contact me about those things either. So let's talk a little bit more about how you can use it in addition to just having your profile for companies to look at. So let's go to the home page. Now let's say that you were interested, for example, I just recently had a student who was a political science and justice studies dual degree. And when I asked them, what is your dream job? Where would you love to work someday? And they said, I'd love to work for the FBI. So what we did is in this top search box right here, I just typed in FBI. And when I typed in FBI, it's going to come up with anything on LinkedIn that I can see that has to do with the FBI. Now, we can see FBI jobs, or things that are sort of related to that kind of area. It's not always an exact science, but we can kind of see some similar things right here. You might have better results in things outside of working for the FBI, but if you were to type in teaching or anything like that, you'll get different jobs on there. We can also follow different kinds of groups. So let me go back to this all button over here. But if we click on groups, we can also see the kinds of FBI groups that are available. Now, some of these, particularly in this industry, may be more specific to, again, like this one, National Academy Session number 244, may be specific to the members who have actually been in that group. So it may be a locked or secured group. There's a lot of different other kinds of groups that you can join to see what kinds of conversations people are actually having about professionalism in that field. Now, when we went back and we saw just general FBI, you saw some names that are popping up here. Now, you'll notice next to these names that there's a second right next to that. What that means is that those people are not, I don't actually know them. In the LinkedIn world, they're not called friends, they're called connections when you make a connection with someone. And what this means is second, that we have a connection in common. They're a second connection of mine. What's different about LinkedIn than, say, Facebook, for example, is that if you were to type in Beth Williams on Facebook, it's going to pull up all of the Beth Williams that are on Facebook. If you were to type in certain things on LinkedIn, it's only going to actually show you your first connections, so people you've actually connected with, second connections, so friends of a friend, or third, friends of a friend of a friend. So the reason that these names are coming up for me is because we have someone in common. If you started LinkedIn and you had no connections at all, you're not going to get these kind of specific names. So it's different in the LinkedIn world. The more connections you have, the more access to information you're going to have. So you want to gain as many connections as possible. Now, with a lot of our social media world, we kind of hear stranger danger, and in other areas that's definitely true, always good to be safe. If someone were to add me as a friend on Facebook that I didn't know, I'm not going to add them. But it's much different in LinkedIn because the more, like I said, the more connections I have, the more access to information I'm actually going to get. So quick ways to gain connections: connect it to the different email accounts that you have. So for example, when I was on LinkedIn or starting at my LinkedIn, I connected it to my UNH email account, my own Gmail account, so I have my friends and family on there. I put it on my Facebook, and again, ask my Facebook friends. And as you log on each time, it'll give you suggestions. So based on these 5 new connections you have, you may also know this other person. So you definitely want to work on gaining as many connections as possible so that you have access to information with actual names. Now getting back to this, so we can see right here, I have this GB Jones. Again, I don't actually know this person, but we have a friend in common. And I can see right here that this person is a special agent at the FBI. What's cool about this is that I can click on this person and I can actually see access to their LinkedIn, again, because we have a connection in common. Not everybody is going to have a lot of information, but it's a great way to go through and see how did people get into their field. So we can see that if we scroll all the way down through this person's, through GB's history on here, I can see that they started out as a police officer, went up to doing, becoming a trooper, then became a special agent, and I can even see on here what did they do as a special agent. So they worked in the Minneapolis Joint Terrorism Task Force. Then we can learn a little bit more as a special agent for the Attorney General's Protection Detail. What did they do in that kind of role? So it's great because this person actually is giving us some pretty specific details on what they actually did within their job. And so that can be helpful if this is a field you're interested in. Now what I can do is scroll down. Oh, this person even has like publications that I could look at. But I can see the history of this person too. So what did they go to school for? Well, they went to school for criminal justice and political science as a double major, and they went on to get their master's in public administration. Not necessarily something I would have thought about as far as a master's go for an FBI agent. So that's, interesting information to know. But here I can see where they're who we have in common. So they are connected to my connection, Tara. I could contact Tara and just say, hey, Tara, I see that you're friends with GB. Is there ever an event that we're going to be at where you could introduce me to this person? And if not, I can always connect with them. And I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. But what's great about following people who are looking at people's profiles who are in your field of interest is that I can see what kinds of groups are these people following. So, for example, this FBI law enforcement is probably a good group to join. I can also see what kinds of companies are these people joining. Maybe a great idea to follow these companies as well. So I can see if the companies are posting jobs or any articles are being posted about that company, etc. Now, if I decided I wanted to connect with GB Jones, if I hit this connect button, again, I can do that because we're second connections. If it was further removed, I may not have access to do this. But I can click on connect over here, and it's going to pull up this box of options. How do I know GB? Well, I already shared with you I don't. But what I could say is, let's say that I found out that this person went to UNH. He didn't, but let's say that he did. I could always say that we were classmates at UNH together. For now, I'm going to say I'm going to connect with this person for business purposes. And you can always just say that. When GB gets the connection invite, it's not even going to tell the person which one you clicked. I tell students don't click on I don't know, click on classmate, colleague, or we've done business together. Now down here, this is where you can add a personal note. This is the note that's automatically going to get plugged in for you. I'd like to add you to my professional network on LinkedIn. What I suggest that you do is do a quick introduction to that person. So, hello, GB. I saw that you are an alum at the University of New Hampshire. I see that you're currently working for the FBI. I'm a junior at the University of New Hampshire with a double major in justice studies and political science. I'm really interested in getting into the FBI world. I'd love to add you to my professional network. Or a step further and say, I see again that you went to UNH or that you live in the local area. Would it be possible that we could meet up so I can talk to you a little bit more about your position? Or I'd love to grab coffee with you at some point, if possible, to talk more about the field that you're in. So it's a great way. That's what LinkedIn is. It's there for networking. So use it to network, especially with alums. So while we're talking about alums, a group that all of you should join once you're on LinkedIn is University of New Hampshire, the alumni group. So if you do University of New Hampshire, it's called the Official Alumni Networking Group. So again, you should all be joining the University of New Hampshire Official Alumni Networking Group. And the reason for that is it has over 12,000, actually just under 13,000 members. And that's great connections for all of you because you have something in common with all of these people. Doesn't matter that you're not an official alum at this point, you're still at UNH, that's totally fine. But it's a great way to kind of see what our alums talking about, but then you have access to a lot of information about these alums as well. So definitely join this group. Now let me show you how you can use being a wildcat to your benefit as well. If we go up to the top of this page up here by this search box and we click on Advanced, it's going to pull up a different kind of search box here for you. So this is the box that's going to pull up. Now let's say, for example, that you are interested in doing something with a museum at some point. That's kind of where you're thinking about working. We can click on museum and just hit search. And it's going to pull up 804,000 contacts or things that have to do with working in, people that have to do with working in museums. That's a lot to sift through. But what I can do is then type in University of New Hampshire and see how many UNH connections are currently working in museums. And there's 1,625. Now again, I have access to a lot of these people because they're friends of friends, they're first, second, or third connections, or because we're part of that UNH member, or we're both members of the UNH group as well. So here, this is a great way for you to see the people that went to UNH or have some kind of affiliation with UNH that are in the field you're interested in. So you can do keyword, like I just did with museum, but you can also type in companies. So let's type in Timberland, for example, knowing that that's sort of a local company here. So if we type in Timberland, with people that work at UNH, we have 399 connections of UNH people or people who have, UNH alums who work at Timberland. I can get even more advanced than that and say I want people who currently work there. And I'm not looking for anyone who was in there in the past. I want to know current people who work there so I can contact them. And I can hit on current. I have 113 UNH connections at Timberland. So use your UNH connections to your benefit because you get actual contact with people that you have something already in common with just from being a wildcat. I know that was a lot of information and I went through it pretty quickly, but I hope that you find this tutorial helpful and how you can actually use it. Always know that you can actually set up a LinkedIn appointment with any of us over in the Career Center as well. That's one of the options that you can choose, so we can go through it more in detail. And again, one of your assignments is to create your LinkedIn profile, put on your experiences, a photo, work on your connections, and also think about who you may actually want to contact to ask them about setting up an informational interview or meeting with them at some point in time. Again, if you have any questions about any of this, please don't hesitate to let me know. I hope that you found it useful, and again, there's other videos that I've attached to this module as well, and articles for you to read that I think will be helpful too. Have fun creating your profiles. Bye.